I did say I was going to do another presentation after getting into my business over the last sort of 3 months. So thanks for Campbell and Anita for giving me the chance to do that. So two things I'm going to do this morning. First, I'm just going to give you a sort of a 2 or 3 minute overview of my background, how I ended up here, and then probably the last 5 minutes I'll just sort of summarise about the business and what I do, so you actually know what I do. Because a lot of you would have known me from working at Yak. The marketing company, which I no longer work there anymore, thanks to a lot of people here. But firstly, as you can probably tell, I'm going to shock you. I'm from England. That was supposed to be a joke, but never mind. So, there you go. Yeah. I came over here about 8 years ago with my wife Amy. My background, when I first sort of grew up in school, I had no real drive or desire. I was a classic young English lad, thought I was going to be a Premiership footballer, and for whatever reason, I didn't do that. And then when I got to 18, I decided to just go travelling. I thought, I'm just going to go around the world and see some cultures. And I went to New Zealand. Amazing place, for those of you from New Zealand. I lived in Auckland. And when I went to NZ, I found myself needing a job. So I looked in the paper and it said, I remember it today, it said, movie stars, money, question mark. And I was like, sounds good. So I called it up and it was door to door selling Vodafone mobile phones. How because obviously they wanted people in. Now I realised why, is because nobody wanted to go door to door selling mobile phones, but I needed some money. And it was my first exposure to sales. I was 18. And I went to the group interview, and there was this big room full of people, and they're all jumping up, they're all like screaming and shouting, and I'm like, what on earth is this? But I'll give it a go. And I followed this guy. Had to shadow. That was my induction. And one thing that struck me, going door to door in the suburbs of Auckland, following this guy around, was one thing that I was actually quite appalled with, was the lies and manipulation that this guy was doing. Bearing in mind, this is 2003, right? So, you know, the internet, yes, it was still fairly prominent at the time, but a lot of people didn't know as much as they know now, right? So, and I was really shocked at just how, frankly, gullible people were to listen to these lies, to buy these mobile phones that they didn't actually need, or contracts that weren't any better. Oh, is it more expensive than my current one? No, it's much cheaper, even when it was. So these guys were lying and manipulating their way to make a bunch of money. And I thought, surely there is a better way of doing it, okay? Surely there was a better way. So instead of lying and bullying and making lies, I did it a different way. I just was honest, and ended up after the first few months of actually making more money than half of the guys there. And then people were coming up to me going, well, how did you do it? And I was like, well, I was just honest with them. And they were all like shocked and blown away. Fast forward, when I went back to England about a year later, I went to university, studied social care. So I wanted to learn about politics and social policy, and I ended up working in a debt recovery position, helping people get out of debt. Like I wasn't trying to make money from the debt, it was like a local authority job. And then I worked in the welfare benefits side of things. So I started to work with people on the low socioeconomic backgrounds, those who were, you know, the real low end of society financially, but they really wanted to get out of benefits, but they really didn't know how. So my job as a benefits officer was to help train them, learn the skills, soft skills, communication, to be able to go and get a job or get themselves out of that rut that potentially they were in. You know, the sort of Centrelink equivalent here, where they were just kind of receiving a state check. And what it did was allowed me to work with some of the people that really wanted to be better than themselves. They wanted to end that kind of generational state dependence. And I started to work with people on that. And what I found over that time was that most people just want to have a better life. They just want to see a bit of improvement. And I was very fortunate to be able to work with a lot of people in that. I always used to go to court, and I would have to negotiate with judges to help people keep their homes. So I was in sales, but I didn't really know it at the time. And again, I was doing pretty well at it. And then after I came back from university, something quite significant happened. So in 2009, I suffered from a viral brain infection. So has anyone heard of meningitis? Yeah, very similar to that, but it's called encephalitis. So basically, I was very run down. I did a lot of drugs at university, as most people did. I was burning the candle at both ends, so to speak. In fact, there was no candle. It was you know, it was pretty much burnt out, and I ended up in intensive care. So I was on life support. I was given a coin flip, so 50-50 chance of survival, and you know, thank God I pulled through. I had what was supposed to be a 30-year recovery, and I had that in 3 months. I don't even know how that happened. I had to learn how to walk, talk. I literally had to learn everything again. And what it started to do was it gave me an appreciation of the brain, and I started to understand about communication and conversation. So I started to learn and obsess around understanding the brain and how it worked, because obviously I had a brain infection, so it's a lot of people have accidents, they want to learn about, you know, the leg, or they have an accident, car accident or whatever. This was a brain accident, so I wanted to learn about it. And what I realized was, when I started doing that, was I started to learn why I was good at sales, why I was good at communication. And what I started to hone was the ability to be able to teach that to other people. Because up until that point, if you'd asked me, well, how, you know, those guys in the sales, just be yourself, doesn't really help someone else sell. You know, they can't be me, they don't have my story. So what I wanted to learn was how to teach other people. And when I arrived in Australia, so my wife and I quit our jobs. We just wanted to travel again. So Amy, my wife, is from South Africa. She'd always wanted to go to South Africa, and we had a lot of countries that we wanted to visit. So instead of buying a house, like most people do at 29, 30, we decided to just quit our jobs and go around the world. Super fortunate to see some amazing places. We went all around North, Central, and South America and South Africa. Went on a safari. That would be, if I recommend anyone do any travel, it would be go to Africa somewhere and do a safari. It was absolutely amazing. And when we arrived in Australia, I met two guys, a guy called Jack and a guy called Ryan, who was running a training business. And I went for an interview, and they got me a job in advertising. And it was cold calling, you know, 200-300 calls a day, pumping calls. And again, I was doing very well at it. But what these guys showed me how to do, Ryan and Jack, was how to sell ethically, how to sell honestly, and a method which was able to help not only generate leads, but also sell. 6 months later, I ended up working for them, and for 5 years I worked with Jack and Ryan, took the company onto Shark Tank, and we were able to get investment. And from there, I was able to work in companies all across Australia and small owner-operator businesses here on the Gold Coast, and help teach them that ethical sales model. Now, fast forward to where we are today. I left that company because they were going in a corporate direction. They really wanted to work with enterprise-level clients. But the problem with enterprise-level clients is a lot of red tape, there's a lot of nonsense. I'm not a big fan of the sort of corporate environment. So I decided that I wanted to go out on my own. Now, I had a non-compete in my contract, which lasted for 12 months, and it gave me the chance to meet Broden at Yak, who a lot of you know, and I worked for him for 12 months while my non-compete was over, and then that's where I ended up in March this year, or April this year, where I decided to go part-time at Yak and start building my own business. And that's where I am today. Now, fortunately, 3 months later, because I can sell, I've been able to bring enough clients on that I can now work for myself. Now, what I actually do in terms of the training that I do is there's essentially 3 main things that I do. The first would be working with sales teams. So I work with companies that have salespeople that receive like an inbound inquiry that would say, you know, I'm interested in X, Y, and Z, and I help them learn about the customer and then be able to present what they do in an efficient way and then convert the sale. That would be the first thing. Second thing would be working with owner-operators, people that have to generate work themselves, go out and network and chat and talk and generate work, and I help them do that through practices, you know, being able to learn how to build rapport, how to communicate more effectively, actually how to tell people what do you do. So that little elevator pitch, when someone says what do you do, you're not 3 minutes later thinking I have no idea what they do. So I help actually give language patterns and words and phrases. And I show you a lot of things about the words that we say. So a lot of people say certain words that have certain meaning, and I actually work with them to change that meaning. So, and that's called neurolinguistics. So there's a lot of different things that we can do about that as well. And then the other side of things would be the sort of goal setting and mindset side of things, but I don't really talk about that here because Sheb does that. And that's really where you're setting goals and you have a bit of a mindset. That's also partly overcoming the odds that I did when I was nearly dead. So I kind of have a passion for helping people find their passion as well. well. So once the methods that I do one-on-one training, which I try not to do too much because it does take up a bit of time. I have a boot camp, which is running every 3 months, where we do kind of a group of 15 people, and I go for everything. I go through introduction methods, asking questions, how to build rapport, how to close deals, and tonality, body language. I do a boot camp, and then the other thing is the corporate training, which is when I go into those companies and we work out a bit of a plan. That's kind of what I do and why I do it. Yeah, and I just want to say I'm really thankful for lots of people in this room who've referred me work. It's been able for me to be able to go out and do my own thing, and also the inspiration as well. A lot of you don't know, but when you're around people as often as you are, when you're talking to other entrepreneurs and business people, just having a real crack, it actually inspired me to go out and do it on my own. So for those of you who I've known for a while and maybe even a short time, I'm really appreciative of the referrals and the support that you've given me. And again, big thank you to Campbell and Anita for setting this group up. But yeah, that's me. Thank you very much. Cheers. Did I need this? No.
That is really nice word in regard to other people in this group.